The underworld is where human souls go once they die, and Hades is the ancient Greek god of the place. His name eventually came to represent his realm. Unsurprisingly, it must be said, he seldom even left it. The most important tale relating to Hades, appropriately, is about one of the few occasions he actually existed: the abduction of Persephone, the daughter of Demeter. In this video, we'll look at how Hades became the god of the underworld and how the other gods regard him. Let's see in which other legends Hades was involved. Hades, the god of the Greek underworld, was the firstborn son of the Titans Cronus and Rhea, according to Greek mythology. He had 3 elder sisters, Hestia, Demeter, and Hera, as well as a younger brother, Poseidon, who had all been eaten whole by their father from the moment they were born. Zeus was the youngest child, and he was the only one who had spared this destiny thanks to the manipulations of their mother, Rhea. Despite being born in the same generation as the other Olympian gods, Hades is omitted from the group and hence lacks the appellation Olympian. He has no dwelling or holy site on Olympus and is instead limited to his dominion in the underworld. Instead of the Olympian title, Hades gets the term Chthonic, which loosely translates as things relating to the underground. So even in his title, he stands out from the rest of his peers. Hades, as the god of the dead, was a grim and ghastly figure who inspired awe and horror in everyone. As a result, he was rarely portrayed in art. When he existed, he was usually shown with a beard and a gloomy, melancholy expression. He typically wears the helm of darkness or the cap of invisibility. Cerberus, the 3-headed hound that guarded the underworld's entrance, is frequently accompanying him. He occasionally wields a scepter or holds the key to his realm. He eventually became identified with his preferred weapon, the bident, a 2-pronged fork styled like Poseidon's trident. Plotin was frequently shown with a cornucopia, the horn of plenty. He was portrayed as a majestic, dark-bearded god. He was either Aidoneus, enthroned in the underworld with a bird-tipped scepter, or Plotin, the giver of prosperity, pouring abundance from a cornucopia. The Romans dubbed him Dis, or Pluto, the Latinized variant of his Greek title Plotin, which translates as the Lord of Riches. While Hades is sometimes portrayed as a harsh, cold-hearted king, his personality is more complicated and frequently misinterpreted. Unlike common belief, Hades was neither the personification of evil nor the judgment of the dead. Rather, he was a harsh but fair king who ensured that souls who reached his domain were treated in accordance with their actions in life. In comparison to the other great gods, the Greek deity Hades had less shrines. He had a substantial cult at Thesprotia, where an oracle of the dead existed. There haven't been many Hades statues discovered, implying that there weren't many constructed. Unlike other gods, such as Aphrodite, who are known to get enraged and violent if they are not worshipped, Hades is not mentioned in any story as exacting retribution on mortals for their ignorance. After Cronus was overthrown by his sons, his kingdom was split among them, and the underworld was assigned to Hades by lot. In what was known as the House of Hades, or just Hades, he ruled over the infernal forces and the dead with his queen, Persephone. Cerberus, his dog, assisted him. Though Hades oversaw the trial and punishment of the wicked after death, he was not usually one of the underworld's judges, nor did he physically torment the guilty, a role left to the Furies. Like death, Hades was portrayed as austere and pitiless, unmoved by prayer or sacrifice. Even in the tale of his abduction of Persephone, he never emerges as a distinct personality from the gloomy darkness of his realm. Hades reigned over the dead with the help of those over whom he had ultimate control. The House of Hades was said to be full of guests, despite the fact that he never left the underworld. He couldn't care less about what occurred in the world above, since his major concern was that none of his people ever left his dominion. He fiercely prevented his subjects from leaving his dominion, and would grow infuriated if anybody attempted to depart or take souls from his territory. His vengeance was as horrific for everyone who attempted to avoid death or otherwise transgressed him. While he appears in certain accounts, Hades seemed unconcerned with what transpired in the world of the living. He did, however, assert his power when heroes and gods invaded his domain. The deity of the underworld sternly prohibited any soul from departing from his domain. His rage and hatred would erupt if someone sought to flee or take souls. Sisyphus and Persephone, two great characters, discovered his commitment the hard way. Hades spent most of his time tormenting and torturing the two figures for their wickedness of attempting to resurrect souls. The underworld realm was depicted in the Iliad as a secret place on earth, while the Homeric poem, the Odyssey, characterized it as only accessible by crossing the ocean. In any case, the realm was distinct from the world of the living, and it was ruled by one god. Hades was that god. One of the most well-known Hades stories is the story of Persephone. However, when other figures enter his domain, the deity appears numerous times. Orpheus, the mythical musician and prophet, is said to have seen Hades while searching for his bride. He desired to resurrect Eurydice from the dead. He pleaded with Hades and Persephone, even playing his lyre to soothe them. It worked, and Hades allowed them to leave the underworld. The sole condition was that the two not glance back. But when Orpheus passed the threshold into the world of the living, he smiled back at Eurydice. But she hadn't crossed the threshold since she was a few feet behind him. She disappeared into the underworld. Luce was the most beautiful of the nymphs and Oceanus' daughter. Hades fell head over heels in love with her and snatched her to the underworld. She spent her whole life in his domain, and when she died, the god sought solace by erecting a fitting tribute to their love. He erected a white tree in the Elysian fields, where the devout spend their afterlife. Heracles adorned himself with this tree to commemorate his return from the underworld. Despite Hades' silence on his grievances in Greek mythology, films such as Disney's Hercules portray Hades as vindictive and planning the demise of Olympus. In Greek mythology, however, Hades never seeks to dethrone any of the gods, particularly Zeus, the king, but other gods do. Poseidon and a handful of his fellow gods believed Zeus was failing miserably as king of the cosmos and sought to depose him. Hades was not present in this situation. Hades, far from being the originator, was a neutral party. Even during the tremendous fight of the Trojan War, Hades chose no sides, in contrast to the gods, who took sides with such zeal that they inflicted more destruction than the people. Meanwhile, Hades must deal with the flow of souls into his dominion as a result of his fickle brother god's deaths. Instead of generating it, Hades must cope with the consequences, an overcrowded underworld. The Greek god Hades, together with his personal jury of choosing, was trusted to judge the dead. As part of this task, Hades was responsible for maintaining nature's order and the life cycle. He punished them not out of vengeance, envy, or resentment, but simply because they had disrupted the balance of life and death. We are lured to the dark, mysterious, and much misunderstood figure of Hades, the ancient Greek deity of the underworld, as we dig into his intriguing domain. Hades, the ruler of the invisible realm where souls stay after death, has long been associated with the unknown and the unseen. The captivating narrative of his abduction of Persephone, with its themes of love, sorrow, and the cycle of life and death, serves as a striking reminder of nature's intricacies and contrasts. Exploring Hades' story has made a lasting effect, since it emphasizes the inevitable passage of time and the delicate balance between light and darkness that we all face in our daily lives. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next video.